Have you ever sat in a classroom and felt like there's this hidden script that everyone's following? A secret set of rules about how to talk, when to ask questions, and even how to listen? Well, it turns out there is. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and make that invisible script visible.
Everything we're diving into today is grounded in the fantastic research by Rima Dwi-Nuryani, Veera Mastika Devi, and Zamzam Aziza Mariamto. They're the ones who really did the work to break all of this down for us.
So let's kick things off with a pretty big question. What if the way we talk in a classroom is actually more powerful than the specific things we're talking about? It's a huge idea, right? It suggests the whole structure of our conversations is what really shapes how we learn and who we become as learners.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on this unspoken language. Then, we'll look at the classic dynamic, teacher talk versus student talk. After that, we get to the big reveal, the three-step pattern that pretty much runs the show. Then we'll see how researchers figure all this out. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about why this really matters.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the classroom's unspoken language.
So the official term for this is classroom discourse. But don't let the fancy name scare you. It's not just about the teacher lecturing. It's everything. Every question, every answer, every interruption. And all of it is constantly shaping how we learn, how we see ourselves, and even who holds the power in the room.
So why obsess over this? Well, because the research is crystal clear. When you get the discourse right, it's a total game changer. Students participate more. They start thinking more critically. They actually build knowledge together instead of just receiving it. And in the end, everybody's communication skills get a major boost.
Now, for section 2, let's zoom in on the two main characters in this play, the teacher and the student.
In most classrooms, the roles are super clear-cut, right? The teacher's job is to give out info, keep the conversation moving, and basically run the whole show. But here's the key. Teacher talk almost always dominates the conversation. And student talk, a lot of the time, it's just about responding to the teacher. Sure, students can bring up new ideas, but that space is often pretty limited by where the teacher is steering the ship.
And what's really fascinating is that there are actual systems to measure this. Teacher talk, for example, gets broken down into two big buckets. You've got response talk, which is all the supportive stuff, praising students, using their ideas. And then you have initiation talk, which is more about control, lecturing, giving directions. It's a tool that lets us see that balance or imbalance of power in real time.
Okay, time for section 3. This is where we crack the code. We're about to look at the simple, incredibly powerful pattern that is the backbone of most classroom communication.
It's called the IRF exchange. It sounds technical, but it's basically a simple 3-step dance. Step 1. The teacher initiates, usually with a question. Step 2, a student gives a response. And step 3, the teacher gives feedback, which is usually just evaluating if the answer was right or wrong. Initiation, response, feedback. I'm telling you, once you see this pattern, you will see it everywhere.
And here it is, in action. It's so simple. The teacher initiates. So what did we say Sabina was? The student responds. A doctor. The teacher gives feedback, right? Yes. See, it's this clean, predictable loop. It's efficient for sure, but it has a huge impact on who gets to talk and how much.
And here's the real kicker. That little IRF loop, that's the #1 reason why, in most classrooms, teachers do about 2/3 of all the talking. Think about it. For every single time a student gets to speak, the response, the teacher speaks twice, with the initiation and the feedback. That adds up fast, and it can make the whole conversation feel really one-sided.
So we know this pattern is out there, but how do researchers actually peek behind the curtain and decode all these conversations? Let's get into that in section 4. Okay, so there are basically two main ways to do this. A system-based approach is kind of like a multiple choice test. It uses fixed categories, so it's great for comparing lots of different classrooms. The downside? It can totally miss the weird, creative, unexpected stuff. Then you've got ad hoc approaches. These are more like an essay question. The tools are custom built for one specific classroom, so they catch all the nuance. It's really a trade-off between getting standardized data and getting rich, specific insights.
And this brings us to our final and maybe the most important section. Why should we care about any of this? Looking at classroom talk this way has 3 huge payoffs. First, the pedagogical one. It helps students see how language actually works in the real world. Second, the communicative one. It teaches us all the unwritten social rules of conversation. And third, and this is the big one, the critical function. It gives us the power to spot the hidden biases, the unspoken beliefs, and the power dynamics that are baked into the way we talk every single day.
And you know, this whole idea doesn't stop with spoken words. As this quote points out, even something like a textbook isn't neutral. It's a cultural product. Every decision about what history to tell, whose stories to highlight, it's all part of a much bigger social and political conversation.
So we'll leave you with this. There is an unspoken script in every classroom, a hidden pattern that shapes what and how we learn. Now that you can see it, the IRF pattern, the power dynamics, all of it, how are you going to listen differently? The next time you're in any kind of learning space, what are you going to hear that you might have missed before?